Welcome back to our lovely channel, MotoMouths Uganda. And we have another interesting topic as always, engine health. When do you change the oil in your engine? This is the most important part of the car, but it needs to also be attended to, and that includes changing the oil. So we have Engineer Ivan Chibuka, who is going to tell us what time do we change the engine oil, which type of oil do we put in which type of engine. I used to see a lot of people back in the day, before the day would start, they would open the boot, the bonnet, and then put that called the dipstick. Can I continue?
Yeah, hearing somebody laughing. Yeah, but we can continue.
Okay.
Because there are other people in the house.
Yes, so I was saying back in the day, it was common to see in the morning before someone sets off for their journey, they would check the level of the engine using the dipstick, and then the journey would continue. But these days, most people just drive off. I think since cars became automatic, people assume everything is fine as long as the engine starts and the tires can move. So, welcome. You can take us through this segment.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. Again, like we normally do, we just go straight to business. Today I wanted to talk about engine health, and I wanted to demystify some common myths regarding engine oil changes. There has always been this old rule of thumb, which said that you have to change engine oil at least every 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers. This rule of thumb is not necessary. I think it was a good one in the past, but I think it's not necessarily applicable for all the vehicles we have today. There have been some advances in engine technology, and oil formulations have significantly extended the intervals between these oil changes. But what you should know is it is important to follow your vehicle owner's manual. The people who made the car, the manufacturer, they understand your car the best. So if they have developed a manual for this, please follow it very carefully. You should consider the recommendations that they have made in this manual regarding the intervals between oil changes, because these are specific to your vehicle's engine design and the type of oil used. These guidelines often suggest intervals of 5 to 7,500 miles these days. That's like maybe 6,000 to between 6,000 and 10,000 kilometers between oil changes for modern vehicles. If you're using conventional oil, and even longer, like double that mileage for vehicles using synthetic oil. Conventional oil is what they call mineral oil. It's made from the oil we know, which apparently we are going to start getting from, we are going to get our own, supposedly from Bunyoro and other areas in Uganda. But synthetic oil is kind of manufactured. It's just like the difference between butter and blue band. Blue band is manufactured. Butter, I think, is extracted from milk. So butter is the equivalent of mineral oil. Blue band, on the other hand, is the equivalent of synthetic oil. Personally, my personal preference is butter because of the taste. but other people also prefer blue band, but they serve a similar purpose. Although the taste may differ. But in this case, when we are referring to engine oil, synthetic oil is also manufactured through methods like frac- fractionation, fractionation or something like that, a name like that. It's basically made, it's like laboratory made oil, except it's in a bigger scale. If you drive under severe conditions, such as frequent short trips, towing, driving in extreme temperatures or industrial environments, now when you mention that, it looks like most of the cars in Kampala encounter this. So you may need to change your oil more frequently. So you need to check your manual for severe use guidelines on how long the intervals should be. And then synthetic versus conventional oil. Like I said, synthetic oil is typically, it's manufactured and made. The reason why it is manufactured is because they look for attributes. The guys in the laboratory look for attributes that they want out of oil and make it according to that, and they tailor it according to that. That's why, in terms of functionality, it turns out to be better than conventional or mineral oil. So synthetic oil typically lasts long and performs better under extreme temperatures, allowing for extended intervals. Like I mentioned, usually about twice as long as the intervals you use when you use conventional oil. Conventional or mineral oil. You can use the words interchangeably. Conventional oil requires more frequent changes, generally 3 to, like I said, 5,000 miles. Although most people prefer to stick to 3,000 miles, which is about 5,000 kilometers. And there have been systems developed and installed on many modern cars to monitor oil quality. So these days, you even have an oil quality, this oil level and quality sensor. And that's how it is able to come up with messages on the dashboard for you to warn you to change the oil. What the software on the car does is, on many of these modern cars, they are equipped with the oil monitoring systems. So the computer assesses the driving habits, your driving habits and conditions to notify you when it is time for an oil change. So the warning for one car to turn on to instruct change of oil may differ from the next car, even though they are the same model and age, because one computer will see that its driver is driving harshly and then instruct the driver to change oil sooner. If you are a steady Eddie like me, you don't accelerate very hard, you don't do extreme things, it may take a while longer before it instructs you to change the oil. But you can still change the oil if you don't feel comfortable. You can still change the oil even before it comes to that. And usually, those cars also allow, it has a way of knowing when you change the oil. How does it do that? You put a diagnostic machine and instruct it and tell it that you've changed the oil. Or some models have, you can use the switches on the dashboard or on the steering column stock to make those changes, to update the computer that you've changed the oil, and then it will take the warning off and then start counting again and watch how you're driving. So, and then there are also annual oil changes, as in, even if you don't reach the mileage threshold, most manufacturers recommend changing the oil at least once a year to maintain engine health. So even if you put oil that should have lasted 7,000 kilometers, but you didn't drive those 7,000 kilometers in that year, the manufacturer would recommend, or some manufacturers, many of them actually recommend that you change the oil anyway. So while the 3,000-mile interval might still apply to older vehicles or those using conventional oil under severe conditions, most modern vehicles can go significantly longer between oil changes. Always rely on your vehicle manufacturer's literature or manual, and the oil quality that you are using, the instructions that come with the can, for the most accurate maintenance schedule. Manufacturers have generally improved the oil quality, but there is now a question of these recommendations they make. Would they really be valid at high mileage? Remember, in Uganda, we import cars that usually between 12 to 15 years old. The engine has grown older. So should we stick to what the manual is saying, or we make the oil change intervals shorter? If it was down to me, I would change the oil sooner if I'm driving an older car. Um, for very good reasons, as in the engine is not, the manual may be referring to a new engine. We typically get our engines when they are past 150,000 kilometers in mileage. So it's difficult to make a black or white argument that this is the best time to change the oil, do this, do that. I would say look at the owner's manual first, go from there. But when the mileage goes higher, personally, I would start reducing the intervals between oil changes. I wouldn't let it go all the way to whatever the manual is saying. Um, that's what I have to share. I wonder if you have any questions regarding that. I'm sorry
Yes.
about my background. I'm sitting in a basement, and I think there are people moving furniture upstairs. And
No.
the ceiling, the floor above me is wooden.
Mm.
So you may hear some noise from upstairs.
Yes, I have some comments. Generally, you have said the technology has improved, so the old parameters may not apply. The oil lasts longer
Mm.
because of improvements in both the production of oil and the engine performance.
Mm.
So that got me thinking. There is this common we call them memes on Twitter, where someone is asking, "What does this light mean?" It is usually the light for the engine oil, I think, and
Which
the
looks like a
light,
teapot.
yes, which looks like a teapot. Exactly. So most of the younger people may not know teapots which are designed like that. They may not have seen Aladdin's lamp.
Uh,
They may
that's where that
they may
comes
not,
from.
they may not have seen many of those old
You are now giving
utensils.
them homework.
So when they see something like that, they may wonder whether it is actually just a teapot, or what does this mean? It may be like the other one who saw an old TV and answered that it is a microwave. So I don't know if the lighting, the symbol for lighting to show the oil light
Mm.
has changed in some cars, or it has remained that same old one. That is
I
one.
I think it may not have changed. Let
Mm,
me answer that before I forget, and then we shall come to your other comments. I think
yes,
it has not changed. However, I'm seeing these days where it is not used, they actually uh, put lights,
right.
like they use words. The dashboard these days, they are they still have those symbols, those lights, but they also have a screen where they actually send you a message. Sometimes they even send you a picture. So the reason why they are using that light, if like Alan has said, Google the story of Aladdin. Google Aladdin, you come across a story. I think these guys were in the Middle East, they were Arabs, and they used to have lamps. They used to put oil in those lamps, probably paraffin or whatever oil they were using, and then it would look like a teapot. The lamps used to look like teapot. So it would
Mm.
have a bigger opening where the oil would be put in, close it, and then on this side is where the flame, the fire would be once you lighted it. So that's why they are using this thing that looks like a teapot as a sign for oil, because those lamps always contained oil. So I hope that confusion is, and that light though, you may see more than one of them on these newer cars. Besides the displayed message, the word message, there is one which is turned on every time you switch. Usually it is red. You turn on the ignition, it will light. You crank the engine, it starts running, and then that lamp will go out. That lamp is to warn you. There is on the engine computer. You remember I mentioned about a sensor for oil quality. So on new engines, they have two sensors. The one that I'm talking about, which is usually connected to the red light, is usually for oil pressure. Once you start the engine, the oil pressure must rise to start the lubrication process. So if you don't see that, that light doesn't go out, it may be a warning that the oil is not getting pumped from the sump at the bottom where it normally rests and climbing up on top of the engine, and your engine may be destroyed. So as soon as you start the engine, you want to see that light go off. If it doesn't, switch the engine off and call a mechanic. Because if you run an engine without oil for 2 minutes, a minute, 2 minutes, you can finish it. So it's it's a very useful light. Now the other light may be yellowish orange. Again, looks like an oil what, or sometimes it may be what. That one may stay on even after the engine has started running and the other red one has gone off. The red one must always go off. This one may stay on, and it may be accompanied by a warning telling you about the quality of oil, that your oil you need to go and have and change your oil. Remember, I mentioned they have sensors which monitor the quality of oil. So it may be talking about, it is not saying you are out of oil. You may be having oil, but the quality now is expired. Go and change the oil. So once you change the oil, go through the settings or use a diagnostic machine to tell the system that you've changed the oil. It will look at the oil because it has ways of looking at it. It uses, it has terminals, it uses conductivity levels and all that. It will know whether the oil is good or bad. Yeah, then it will clear the warning. I hope that one is clear.
Yes, that is quite clear. Thank you. The second concern I have is that at the beginning you said drivers or owners of cars should consult the car manuals to know the car's regime for the oil. But then still in your submission, you pointed out that most of the cars we drive are very old cars. So I would assume some of them don't come with that manual, or the manual is not still relevant because, again, the car has aged. But my main concern is if I have got this car that is not so new, it has just come from Mombasa, or I bought it from a friend, the manual is not there. Are there options, for example, to go online and look for the model of my car and get the manual and read it there?
Exactly.
Yeah,
That is what I was about to advise.
Yeah, because even TVs and all these other electronics, people seem to have moved away from the old school thing of first reading the whole manual, then you switch on your TV.
I'm one of those people. If I
People
buy a
just
new item, if I
they
buy
just
a new
switch on,
item, I first switch
and
it
when
on, gamble with it, where things jam. That's when I come back to the manual. Yeah,
and
because
some people
I
don't
don't know,
want to think.
we are always running. Yeah, we are short of time. So I understand that very well. I know
Yes, but
I'm
even
asking people to read the manual, but yeah, You are right.
Yes. Even when they have switched on the gadget and it is working,
Mm.
when it stalls, there are still very few who will go to the manual. Most people, what they do is go to Google and
Yes.
ask, say, I have a Lenovo laptop. It is showing me a blue screen. What do I do?
Or it is not even turning on.
Yes.
There are any number of things that can prevent it from starting.
Mm.
Anyway, going back to the manual, I talked about the manual. What I meant is, for example, if you read the manual and it says change your oil after 7,000 kilometers, I think you can observe it. If the vehicle is still has a mileage of 30K, 70K, but
Mm.
once you cross 120,000 kilometers, if it is my car, instead of 7,000, I'll start retracting. I say, okay, 6,000. Once it reaches 160, 170, I say, now I'm doing it every 5,000, something like that. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Mm.
Kwebereramu, what I'm
Mm.
saying is kwebereramu. The manual is saying that, but the manual is talking about a new car.
Mm.
So
Yes.
it doesn't hurt for you to change the oil earlier. It never hurts. Of course, there may be issues to do with the pollution where you are discharging the oil that you've taken from your engine. That's a whole other story. But with regards to the health of your engine, it never hurts to change your oil earlier.
Mm.
Race engines, for example, race cars, the oil can be changed after every race. Sometimes it is even changed, it can even be changed during a race when they are resting. So it never hurts. It's always good to change the oil because the
Mm.
oil is best when it is very fresh, when it is very new. Now, going back to, you had a question about manuals. Most of the cars we get in Uganda are imported from Japan. Some few come from Europe. In the past, I never used to see manuals in those cars, but these days, you find manuals, service logbooks, showing the service history of the vehicle. The thing though is most of the cars are from from
Japan.
Japan, so they are written in Japanese. Most of the content is in Japanese. I've been fortunate that since 2009, when I got a new company, Hilux, that Hilux, I think, was made in Thailand. So it came with an English stroke Thai manual. So it had both languages. So it was very okay. And I drove it for a very long time. Then I drove a Toyota Alphard for some time. Of course, that one, the manual was there. It was in Japanese. But I could get the equivalent. With these Japanese cars, they usually have an equivalent that is driven in Europe or America. You can go and Google. For example, the Alphard has the same engine as the Harrier Kawundo or Lexus RX 330. It has the same engine as the RAV4. So the Lexus and the RAV4 are available in North America and Europe. So you can Google, if you are aware of that, you can Google. Most of those manuals in English are available on Google for free in PDF. So you can get
Mm.
that manual. Then I also had a Mercedes W204. I think it was a 2011 model. That one originally it came from the UK. It was meant for the European market, but it had a manual in English. So that was not a problem. So right now I have a Renault Duster, 2020 model, I think, but the manual is in English. I suspect this car was made for the South African market. The dealer we bought it from, I think gets the brand new vehicles from there. So it's in English. So generally, there are ways to go around this. Sometimes you get the manual in English, or if not, you can do some homework and get it, and get the PDF version in English. Now, after doing that, you can get the information you want. If the age of the car is beyond, say, 100K, I would not drop figures. I don't want people to latch on to numbers, but generally, as the vehicle ages, if it is me, I would shorten the interval between oil changes. Has that answered your query?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I don't think I have any other queries on this issue of when to change
Yeah.
the oil.
The other comment I would make, you now hear people talk so much about synthetic oil. Synthetic oil, yeah, seeing synthetic oil. It is true. It is true. Na ye, bamukola, because in this case, something manufactured is something I would consume. Okay, I would put in my engine. But you remember the analogy I gave earlier for butter and blue band. When I found out butter is made, I think through some process, they call it hydrogenation or something. You remember there is some chemistry we studied in O level. They will put hydrogen in cooking oil. Blue band is cooking oil. That's why they call it, they call that general product of blue band is called margarine. So Kimbo, Blue Band, Cowboy, all those, they are in the same group. And then you have on the other side, you have ghee, you have butter, those are natural products from animals. Blue Band is from plants. Okay, it's manufactured, but it is from plants because they get it from cooking oil, which cooking oil is normally extracted from plants, nuts, sunflower oil, simsim, whatever oil, olive oil. Yeah, there is a chemical process. They take it through and it becomes solid and you can spread it like butter. So just because of that, I'm not saying it is bad, but just because for me, I read about it, I'm like, it is manufactured, but butter is not. But you may find that butter is actually more dangerous to your health. But my preference, personal preference, is butter. About the oil, the engine oil, I believe synthetic oil is the best. You can still use mineral oil. It just means you are going to have more frequent oil changes. And also the margin, when things go wrong, the margin is narrower. The margin between your engine surviving and getting destroyed. But most people I can see on social media and whatever, they are hyping synthetic oil so much. So I believe it is people who are selling synthetic oil are making a killing. They are making good sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much
Yeah.
for educating us as usual. It will help us to be better owners and operators of these machines.
Yeah.
Because if they are not healthy, also our lives are at risk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you wake up to go to Chanamkaka for Christmas. You wake up at 3 a.m., get stuck by 4 a.m., 1 hour into the journey. And those guys on the road, they marauding around, they will get you. So you don't want to get stuck in any case. Kari, thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Same to you.